Hello, Civil War class. Welcome to week 7. Over the past couple weeks, you have read about the reasons why the Civil War had been fought, the build-up to the Civil War, and eventually the attempt of the Union to end the Civil War quickly. Unfortunately, all of those attempts were for nothing, as the Civil War would continue for years. President Lincoln was disgusted with the fact that he had to conscript soldiers, the fact that he had to institute martial law, but it was his duty. And this comes into question. Does the president have the right to authorize these things in times of war? So these are some questions that we're going to consider as we read this week. The other thing that you want to consider is, after reading last week about so much success in the West, Generals Halleck, of Buell, and mostly of Grant, we're now going to see how in the East, in Virginia, there's not success coming from General McClellan, the great hero McClellan, the one who everybody looks to as being the savior. McClellan cannot commit to total war. He's paranoid. No matter how good of a general he is, no matter how great his training and his aspirations are, he simply cannot defeat the Confederate Army and seize Richmond quickly. As a result, the Peninsula Campaign is a complete failure. The other thing we're going to be looking at this week is, how do the North and the South sustain their economy during the war? And we're going to bring up a concept of, how do you fund war? The South is completely against taxation. So if they can't tax their people, how do they plan to pay for the war? So we bring up the concepts of borrowing, which is in the form of bonds, and then we also talk about fiat currency. And fiat currency, which we currently have in the United States, is the concept of printing money that has no value besides the fact that the government says it does. And this raises a lot of eyebrows to people, because for a long time we had a silver and a gold standard. And the value of gold was the weight of the coin. So a $1 coin was worth $1 of gold. It was the equivalent of $1 of gold. And we're going to look at, why is that all of a sudden going to change? A lot of it has to do with the gold rush and the silver rush in America and the devaluation of currency. So there are a lot of these sinews. The sinews of war is the name of the chapter, that America has to experience. But what comes out of this war is not only a rebirth of pride in one's country and connection to the Constitution. The war is going to provide the Republicans a chance to critically change how the United States functions as a nation. To go from a nation that systematically was a very strong Democratic nation, not Democratic Party, even though, yes, the Democrats were in charge, that people, average people, were gaining more and more power, and that the voice of states was trumping the voice of the national government. We would now see a complete switch with the Republicans, where there'd be more federal power, federal assertion of power over the economy, over laws, where the national government would have more power than the state government. So this war did not only provide a venue where to end slavery, but it also provided a way for the Republican message of big business and high control from government to take effect, which from that point on would lead us into imperialism and eventual world domination. So it all starts really with the Civil War, when the Union gets a chance to assemble the states that agree with the Republican Party and get rid of the states that are more for the Democratic message of the past. So a couple reminders for this week. Number one, you will see your grades posted for your first paper and for your discussion boards. Number two, keep on posting to your discussion boards. There are 2 chapters. I've decided to only give you 3 questions this week, because you do have a paper due on Sunday. So Sunday 23rd, paper 2 is due. Again, it's a paper from topics that we've already talked about, but I've given you a chance, hopefully, to write that paper over a couple weeks so that you could use what we've learned and apply it to the paper. Paper 3 will be posted also this week, and that will be due the week after July 4th. And then an update, if you hadn't known that already, that the week of July 4th, we will not be having Blackboard discussions. We will not be having any additional reading, even though a paper will have been assigned that will be due the week after the 4th of July. So I hope that lightens everybody's load, at least to give that 1 week off, so those of you who need to catch up maybe on some of your reading have a chance to catch up in terms of working towards the next papers. Until then, if you have any questions, please let me know. Any questions, concerns, email, call me. But until then, if you have no more questions, enjoy the reading this week. It's less reading. I think it's pretty interesting. And for any of you who are business people who really like to read about the economy and to read about the rise and fall of business, this is going to be a little bit away from war and more towards maybe what you remember from learning in your business classes or your economics class. And we'll see how you can apply what you know already to the economies of the past and maybe talk about that in your discussion board. All right, until next week, I'll see you then.